What's up guys, Sean the Bro here, and today we're going to be going over reloading in games. So you see that this is our first person shooter template, and we have a new HUD in the bottom right hand corner, which is essentially just, it shows you the ammo you have in your clip and the total ammo you have. So once you reload, then you see that the number of bullets that you've used are then subtracted from the total count, so that you always have the correct total amount of ammo and the correct amount of ammo in your clip shown in the bottom right. And once you run out of ammo, so you go ahead, go use it all. Lots of mouse clicks. And there we go. We shoot our last bullet. Well, when we're out of ammo, we can no longer shoot. So yes, in this episode we're going to be going over reloading and keeping track of ammo, not allowing the player to shoot if they're out of ammo, that sort of thing. So, let's get right into it, guys. So, if you go into your code class, or your Visual Studio project, you have your character right off the bat that we've already made in the previous episodes. If you haven't seen them, but you'd like to, I'll leave an iCard in the top right-hand corner of your screen. There you go. If you either don't need them or you've already seen them, then let's continue. So in Visual Studio, you can go make we're going to make a class for our base weapon. So you can go to File, New, File, or you can go Add New when you're in Unreal and do New C++ class. Either way, go ahead and make a new class. Go ahead and it'll be I call it base weapon. You can call it whatever, just weapon if you want. Basically, this is the parent weapon. So not like assault rifle or pistol or anything like that, but just weapon. So afterward, we can make child classes of this class, and then, we can specialize it to be assault rifle, submachine gun, pistol, just fists, whatever. Doesn't have to be a gun even. Okay, so in this class, I have some things that I create. So I think there's 5 variables that are most important when starting out, when first creating it. Before you get to anything else, like actual damage amounts or anything like that, I think you need 5 different things. And 2 of these could be full constants if you wanted to. I am making this tutorial to show you that you can also use this for weapon upgrades, like extended mags and extended backpack capacity, things like that. So I'll go over what these all are, and I have comments here. But in the new class we have, again, mine is base weapon. I've made 5 variables. I have max total ammo, max clip ammo, total ammo, clip ammo, and reload time. Okay, so max total ammo is the amount of ammo that we can possibly carry for that weapon. So say we have a backpack and we want to be able to carry 120 bullets of this ammo, but only 2 rockets or something like that. So for the base weapon, max total ammo, whatever, like you can make it whatever. For me, I made it 100. For different guns, this will be different. Again, if you have rockets, you might want to set max total ammo to 2. Okay, max clip ammo is the maximum amount of bullets that can be in one clip, or one magazine. I never know exactly which one's the correct one, but I always call it a clip. So we're going to keep calling it clip. Feel free to correct me down in the comments below. But max clip ammo. So, like I said, if you have extended heavy mag or something like that, I'm going off of Apex. If you have one of those extended mags, then what happens is you can hold more bullets in one clip, but that doesn't deter the amount of total ammo you can have, right? You still have a certain amount of ammo you can hold in your backpack, but the ammo, you technically have more ammo on your person because more of it's in the gun. So we need to know what our max clip ammo is, what our total ammo we can hold for our weapon is, and then lastly, in terms of the ammo, we got 2 more. Basically, the current value we have for those 2 things. So our total ammo that we have now, which could be called current ammo or something of that sort, is basically the ammo that you're holding for that weapon. Okay? So it's not the total amount. Again, these 2 could be constants if you wanted them to. I'm allowing them to be subject to change in case you get backpack upgrades or whatever. But this is the total amount of ammo you're carrying for your weapon. Then we have clip ammo, which is the total amount of ammo in the clip currently. Okay. Lastly, we have reload time, which this one's pretty self-explanatory, but essentially it's a float, so time in seconds that it takes to reload the weapon. Alright, so if we go into our C++ class for our base weapon, I went ahead and set some default variables. Again, when you have child classes, you'll be able to set these to whatever you want. So max total ammo might be 2 for rockets, max clip ammo might be 1, and then total is 2 and clip is 1. Reload time is 5 seconds, whatever. Since I'm not going to be doing any child classes today, I do need to fill these out so I can actually shoot the gun. But you don't need to fill this out if you're going to make an assault rifle or a pistol class or whatever right now, and just go ahead and fill it out in the child class, right? So you can skip doing this in the base class as long as you have child classes that you're going to spawn. I don't for the purposes of this episode, so feel free to set your ammo and your variables here, but again, it doesn't really matter. Alright, so what we need to do in the character class is to actually make a reference or a pointer to the weapon, right? To the weapon we have. So we can have an array of weapons that we own or that we are currently holding or whatever. Again, for the purposes of the episode, we're not going to be spawning any weapons or anything like that. We're not going that deep. So I literally am just making a pointer of our new class, a base weapon, right here. And this will store the weapon that we are currently holding, and that's it. So this will let us know exactly what weapon we're dealing with. So when we use it, it knows what the total ammo, clip ammo, all that stuff is. So when we make child classes down the line, this will still work because they'll be children of this base weapon class. So thus we can set it to be this variable, and there you go. Okay, so everything else you can see is the same. I did add 2 functions. So one is the void reload weapon function. So reload weapon does what it sounds like, and it will make you be able to reload. So if you run out of ammo, reload the gun. If you press a button, reload the gun. You know, like for me, I put R as reload. If I press R, I also want to reload the gun. Okay, and then we have one that I made that is a blueprint implementable event, which what that means is it's a function that you can call, but the logic is determined on Blueprint side. You don't have anything that you write for in code. It's all done in Blueprint. The reason you mainly use these is so that you can use variables that are accessed on the Blueprint or trigger something that's in the HUD or something like that in a widget that you wouldn't normally be able to access in your code. You don't want to necessarily create another dependency from Blueprint to code, so this is just a pretty easy way to do it. So that's what this line above it does. It makes it a blueprint implementable event. Okay. There you go. So those are the 2 functions I added. Remember to add your weapon pointer. And you can go ahead and set your weapon to be null pointer here. Set all your default values as we normally do. Now, if you're spawning weapons, or if you wanted to have a specific child class that you have right off the bat, that you're like, yes, I want my player to start with this weapon, you don't have to set this to null pointer. You could set it to what the default weapon is. We're going to control that in Blueprint today, just because of the simplicity of it, and because we're not actually going over spawning any yet, or switching any yet. So you can keep it null pointer for now, if you don't want to go ahead. Okay, so to reload, you can press the button R, which I'll show you how to do this. So if you go to your setup player input component, and you will have seen this before with our zoom in, zoom out, and our sprint functions that we did in earlier episodes, but we can do the same thing with reload. So go to your setup player input component. If you're using the template, you'll have quite a bit of these. You just won't have the sprint and zoom in that I have here. You can just copy one of these, just change your text from whatever one you copied to reload. This means this will happen when the button is pressed instead of released. And then you set the function you want to call. So we want to call our reload weapon function, which we just made. Now, for this to do something, you have to go into your editor, go to Edit, Project Settings, scroll down to Input, and here you go. You can press the little plus button to add an action mapping, and then go ahead and type in whatever name you want. I called mine Reload. When you go to copy this function, make sure the thing in quotes is identical to the one you're setting up here. This is binding the action mapping to that part in the code. And then you just click this little drop down and search for whatever you want, like R. And you find the R key. Here you go. So that's what I've done. All right. Now, we can do reload, but let's actually go to onFire next because this is the only other thing we have to touch outside of the functions that we're making. So I think it's important to address this next. So, obviously we want to decrease the amount of ammo we have when we fire. But there's a few steps to doing this now that we're implementing a new class as opposed to just using the weird, like, I'm a random pair of arms with a gun, and that's what the Unreal template is. It's kind of strange. So, for whatever reason, they didn't separate that, so we'll do that here. So, onFire, okay? Now, most of this will already be in here. You'll notice I didn't touch any of the stuff that's already existed. Instead, what I did is add more functionality to it. So, if world is not equal to null already exists. Right under there, you can do a check for if weapon, which essentially means if weapon is not null pointer, which essentially means if weapon exists, right? If this will not cause the game to crash. It's a safety check. It's a good thing to do, especially since, you know, like I said, you might have different weapons that you're switching to, or you might spawn without a weapon, or whatever. You want to make sure you don't do this logic if you don't have a weapon. So if weapon, and weapon clip ammo is greater than 0. So basically, you won't be able to fire if you don't have any ammo in your clip. I think that makes sense. For these, for the record, I will probably be doing getters and setters, or mutators, accessors, whatever you want to call them. So they're essentially a safer way of grabbing data and setting them in your code. I will be doing it for good practice and to get people to kind of learn about getters and setters. For this episode, I have not done it because we'll go over it next time once you're done seeing the final result of this. So if you know a bit about programming and you're like, oh, that's really bad practice, don't worry. We're going to keep the same logic we have, but I will go ahead and do that overhaul so that you guys can see the difference between them, okay? So anyway, just make sure that the ammo in your clip is greater than 0 before you allow yourself to fire. If it's a gun such as the BFG from Doom or something like that, and it requires a certain amount of ammo, well, you can do checks to see if it's that specific weapon, and then check if it's above that amount of ammo, right? So not a big deal. Okay. So if it is greater than 0, then do the normal stuff you'd regularly do, right? I didn't create any of this. This is all from the template, so don't worry about that. But at the end of it, you will want to decrease your clip ammo by 1. Make sure you actually know that you fired the shot, right? Else. So if your weapon clip ammo is not greater than 0, so 0 or less than 0 for whatever reason, then check if your total ammo is greater than 0. If your total ammo is greater than 0, we'll call the reload weapon function, which we'll get to in a second. Basically, this checks, okay, we still have ammo, it's just not in our clip, so we'll go ahead and reload. So this is if you're pulling the trigger, okay, I'm out of ammo. I pull the trigger again, well, I'm out of ammo, so I'm going to force my character to reload. So you don't actually have to press R, but you're out of ammo, so might as well reload. And of course, you don't have to do that if you want them to have to press R, but most modern shooters will have an automatic reload upon running out of ammo if you still try and shoot. Then else, if you don't have any ammo in your clip or any ammo total, then trigger the out of ammo pop-up, which is the Blueprint implementable event that we created earlier. This guy right here. So what that'll do is it'll say on the screen, hey, you're out of ammo. You know, that simple, but just letting the player know. Alright, so the only other thing we have to do now is if we scroll down and go to, well, just go to the bottom of your file, we'll make the reload weapon function here. So you can do void, your class name, reload weapon. And how we're going to set this up, we're going to do another safety check for if weapon. The reason I do another check is if you are to press R and call it from here, call reload from this binding, then you won't get the initial safety check in onFire. So it's good to do another check just to be sure before you go to use this pointer. Otherwise, if you don't do this and this is null pointer, it will crash. Okay? So if weapon, so if the weapon exists, Okay, so what this is going to be a little bit of a logic storm here, but essentially what this is doing, and I'll go over it line by line, but what this is doing is it's checking if you have ammo available to pull from to put into your clip. If you have ammo, great, fill it up. If you don't, then do some math to figure out how much ammo you have in your clip, because you might only have 4 bullets, but your clip takes 10. So how do we figure that out? Okay. We do an if check. If weapon clip ammo is not equal to weapon max clip ammo. So if there's room for us to reload, right? So a lot of games don't even let you reload if you have ammo in your gun already, or if you have max ammo that your gun can hold already, because why would you, right? Maybe you didn't notice or whatever. If you want them to be able to do that when they have full ammo, that's fine. Then you can leave this if check out. But assuming you want them to only be able to reload if they've shot at least 1 bullet, then basically just check that your clip ammo is not equal to your max clip ammo, okay? And then we do an if else. So if the weapon total ammo minus the max clip ammo minus the clip ammo is greater than or equal to 0. So what this is saying is if the total ammo that we have minus the total, then it's the difference between, and I'm gesturing with my hands like you're going to be able to see that. The difference between the max clip ammo and the clip ammo we have is still greater than 0. We're going to fill up the total ammo. Now, the reason we're doing it this way, so if we had, say, 20 bullets total, there were 4 bullets in a clip. We used 2 of those bullets. This math is saying, okay, 20 minus the difference of 4 and 2. So 4 minus 2 is 2. 20 minus 2 is 18. 18 is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, we have enough total ammo to fully fill up our clip ammo to our max clip, right? Because we can replenish those 2 bullets and still have ammo to spare. I'll show you why that's important when we get into the else, but here's how we make that happen. So we subtract from our total ammo the difference, right? Because we only want to lose 2 bullets. Yes, I know that's not really how real situations work. When you reload weapons, you lose that whole clip and all the ammo in it, but people, video games are more fun when you shoot 2 bullets, you reload, and you've only lost 2 bullets. So there you go. That's why we do this. Again, if you wanted to not do it that way or make it more realistic, there are games that allow you to do that. Then just go ahead and subtract the max clip ammo. You don't need to do the max clip ammo minus the clip ammo, okay? And then set your clip ammo to be the max clip ammo. Okay, so we've reloaded, so set it back to the value that we should now have, the full clip. Okay, so if that's not true, so if we don't have enough total ammo to fill up our clip, then what we do, we go into the else and we say clip ammo plus equals total ammo. So again, we'll use our example, but we'll switch it up a bit. So say there's 12 bullets in a clip total. We have 3 bullets right now, and our total ammo that we have for reserves is 4 bullets. Well, 3 plus 4 is 7, which is still less than the max clip. So we don't have enough to fill it up to our max clip ammo, so this line won't be in there. But what we do need to do is add the total ammo to our clip ammo, and then set our total ammo to be 0. Essentially saying we've used the last of the ammo we had, put it into the clip, that'll be good enough. That's what we're going to have to deal with, okay? So there you go. If that made sense, you should be good to reload. There are a few things we're going to have to set up in the editor. So since we're not spawning weapons, and since we set that pointer to be null pointer without doing any other logic to set it elsewhere, you will get issues before you even try and use this, just trying to go through that logic if your weapon exists, okay? So what we're going to need to do there is I'm going to make, so I didn't make this folder structure, it's the default one from the template, but I believe I put it in character, yep. So make a blueprint, add new blueprint class, all classes, and search for your first person character. This is what my C++ class is. Or, I actually did it for the wrong character, not first person character. FPS tutorial character, this one right here. Okay. So make a new blueprint of that. I just called it FP character BP. And just to show you, I haven't changed anything with this, okay? This is the default blueprint. The only reason I'm doing this is so that I can attach a weapon to it in the scene. Since we're not spawning weapons in the code or anything like that, this is a very simple way to make it not crash and for you to be able to test it out right away. So just make an instance of that so we can spawn in the scene. You can go ahead and drag it in if you want, like this. You don't need to. We already have one. Just make sure that's what class it is. So first person character BP, right? That's the class you want. Good to go. Now, if you already had it or you already have some sort of template character in here where it's using your FPS tutorial class like we did because we're using the template, then you can skip this step technically. I'm still going to keep it because down the road I'm actually going to get rid of this first person character too, or I'm going to spawn it dynamically, so we're not going to have this guy in the scene. That's why I still mentioned it in this video, because making a blueprint character is an easy way to spawn them dynamically in the code. So if you're doing multiplayer, you want to spawn multiple, you don't necessarily have them all in the scene, right? So you want this blueprint so that you can use them later on. For now, you can skip it if you don't care about that, or if you're just specifically going for reloading weapons. But something you will need to do, either way, is, and for whatever reason I put this in, when I put a character, FP weapon, of course, yes. Base weapon BP. So do one more thing, go ahead and add new blueprint class, and look for your base weapon, right here. And then I called mine base weapon BP. Again, I've done nothing in here. This is so I can drag it into the scene, test it on the spot, or spawn it later. So I'm going to close these two now, but just create those two classes. You don't have to do anything with them. Now, again, if you either dragged your new character in that we just created, this guy right here, or if you're just using the one class that you already have by default by using the template, then click on your camera or your guy's arms, because this is what it looks like. This is what your character actually looks like, whether you realize it or not. He's not the full mannequin. He looks like this, which is pretty funny, but it's true. Just click on this. In search details on the right hand side here in the details panel, search for weapon, and I should say make sure you build boop, and then make sure you compile. That way you have this. Now, since this class is your FPS tutorial character, that's what it's called for me, since this is your character that we've been coding with, he should have this weapon thing that we've exposed in blueprints. It's this variable right here, this variable we made earlier in the episode. Okay, so now that you have that exposed, when you search for weapon right here, or right here where I search for weapon, this will come up. You can also just scroll down the list and find them. But there's a lot of stuff here, and I honestly don't even know where he's at in relation to it. As you can see, he is in here though, I promise. Here he is, weapon. So you can either scroll down or set him up or whatever. But if you drag your base weapon into the scene, and I've already done it, so I'm going to delete this one. But drag him in. For me, he's right here. Then when you're in this section, when you're on your character, and you go back to your weapon, you can do a drop down or an eyedropper. So the eyedropper allows you to pick one from the scene. Bam. Or the drop down will tell you all the ones that are in the scene you can pick. Just pick your basic weapon that we just dragged in. What's up, Pedro? Okay, so go ahead and save it. There you go. So now you have your weapon set up as this object, which is a child of our weapon class. So he's got everything that our weapon has, and our character now has his pointer to the weapon filled out to it. All right? With that, we have a functioning character and a weapon. So we have this. Now that should work for you right off the bat, but you won't have the HUD. So you won't have the stuff in the bottom right here that's going down and actually, changing its value. If you want to have that stuff working, then go ahead and I have it up here, but I put mine in a blueprints folder. You can put in widgets, whatever. Just go ahead, add new. You have to go down to user interface, which is getting a little bit cut off just because it's at the bottom of my screen, but the very bottom one, If you go to user interface at the bottom, right below sounds, and then go to widget blueprint, which is the very bottom one under that, you'll make a widget. That's this. It'll be empty. And then you can just do these two things. So you can go over here and drag in a text box right here. And I called mine Clip Max Text Box. So here's that. Go over to Content in the Details panel, Text, hit Bind. Let me see if I can show you what it looks like. Bind, Create Binding. Then it'll bring you to something that looks like this, where it'll be like binding one and a return node. So what we're going to do is fill out this data so that we can actually make this. When you bind it, it essentially sets the text of a text box or whatever you're using to the value that you return from this return node. So what we're looking for here is our clip ammo next to our total ammo. So I renamed mine. You can right click and rename it if you want to get ammo. Here's how I do it. There's better ways to do it, but for where we are in the series, it's totally fine to do it this way. Go ahead, right click, get player character. Sorry, get player character right here. You can keep player index 0 because that's player 1, which is the only player we have right now. Make sure you cast it to your character, your C++ class right here, FPS tutorial character, or whatever you called it. Then go ahead, pull off of it, weapon, get weapon. That's this right here. I do another is valid check, so all you do is drag off the little blue node, is valid, right there. The question mark one is the function that has code flow. You can do this one as well. If you do this one, you have to do a branch though, which is a bit uglier than just doing the is valid all in one go like this. So either way, I prefer this one, pick your poison. But only if it's valid, only if this weapon is valid, and it should be at this point. It's a little bit overkill, but better to be safe than sorry. This isn't really going to slow you down. Only if it's valid, then go to the return node. Otherwise, don't return anything, or you could return, like this would be a better way to do it, would be, I think it's actually, there you go. So, or if it's false, you could go ahead and return, I'll get this out of your way, that way it's not in the way of the tutorial, but if it's not valid, just return 0, 0. As opposed to displaying nothing, you can display 0, 0. That way it's like, hey, something went wrong, but we're not going to crash the game, and we're not going to hide the HUD from you. So there you go. Now, from your weapon, we're going to need two values that we have. So we have the clip ammo and the total ammo. So remember, total ammo is how much ammo we currently are holding, or yeah, we currently have on our person. Clip ammo is how much is actually in our gun. So just drag off a weapon. You can do get clip right there, and get total right there. Drag off of it, type append. Oh no, you have to do the conversion, don't you? Okay, so what you have to do is right click and do append. Whoops. Append right here. And it'll bring this append strings. Now these are technically integers. Well, not technically. They are integers, but we're going to be displaying them as text. So when you drag in the value, boop, then it does a little conversion for you. That's what these two nodes are. So I'm going to delete this. But that's what these are. So just drag your clip ammo into your append. So that basically it's saying, okay, the first part of the text that I'm going to be returning, because see, we just go into toText string and return it here. So basically it's saying we're going to return the clip ammo. You can add as many pins as you want. So I'm going to undo those because I don't want them. But you start off with two by default, A and B. So I put A, I put a / I believe that's one it is. I can't, I have a hard time remembering which one's forward and which one's backslash, but I put a slash here, add a pin, and then put total ammo on C. Then I just drag that into my return node. It does the conversion for you, as you can see here. So I'll just delete that. There you go. Compile and save it, and there you go. So now your binding is set up properly to show you ammo on the HUD. Now the other thing you should do, and I didn't do this, actually I won't be able to do it just because of the way I have it set up right now. If you wanted to do your out of ammo thing, I did set up a text box for it. Technically, you need to just receive this function call that we set up and perform, make it visible or invisible at that point. I haven't done that yet because the way I set up the project, so it'll be in for next episode. Feel free to go ahead and try and get it to work. It shouldn't be too hard, so you can make it happen and get a little fancy with it, but otherwise, we'll see how to make it next time. Okay, and lastly, what we have to do, you can play, you still won't see it yet, because what you have to do is make sure that this character HUD is being used. So, go to Blueprints, open level blueprint, and we'll do my favorite thing, which is, even though this isn't the right way to do this, it's the easiest way to test it. So in your level blueprint, go ahead and do create widget right here. It'll bring you this. Drop down, select your character HUD class. It's the one we just made. You don't need an owning player since it's only single player, and go ahead and drag off of that and add it to the viewport. Once it's added to the viewport, you should see the HUD. You should be able to lose ammo. Reload, it should take the appropriate amount of ammo, and we'll go through it one more time. When you get all the way, you should be able to click without clicking R, and I'll still reload for you. And then when you lose enough ammo, you should reload. It won't fill your clip to max, but it will take the rest of your ammo. And once you're out of ammo, you should no longer be able to shoot. There you go, guys. So that is the reloading tutorial for the first-person shooter tutorial. A little bit redundant, but that's what it is. So, yeah. So now you should be able to zoom, shoot, reload, and sprint if you've been following the tutorial. That's what we've got so far. If I could talk. So there we go. Alright, guys. So that's going to be it for the tutorial itself. If you have any questions, need any help, or any suggestions for ideas of future videos, then feel free to join our Discord. We have a whopping 75 members right now, and a lot of them are very willing to help teach you, help with programming questions if I'm not around, or I'll answer them directly if I can with pictures and videos and things like that. So, yeah, that's a fun time. The link's in the description, so feel free to go ahead and join that and come join the wonderful community. And lastly, if you guys would like to join me on Twitch, we've been playing Dark Souls on Wednesday, Resident Evil on Friday, and then Apex Legends, Darwin Project, Fortnite, all that on Tuesday and Saturday. So anyway, guys, that's SeanTheBro27 on Twitch if you want to join it. But otherwise, I want you to have a wonderful Friday, a wonderful weekend, whenever you're watching. This is going to be a wonderful Friday for me. But whenever you're watching this, hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you around for the fighting game episode on Sunday. So every Sunday there's a new fighting game episode. Every Friday it's going to be either a first-person shooter tutorial, third-person tutorial, or Super Smash Bros. Tutorial. Alright guys, I'm Sean the Bro, and I'll see you in the next one.